home, don't travel around.
So,
And you?
Mr. Bennett, I will be out of
Kill something this
town.
weekend?
Yes.
You'll be
Yeah.
fulfilling my
Ducks.
duties
Ducks.
next
Awesome.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Yep.
Be back Friday for that MPO meeting, hopefully. Going to the White House and invited to the
Mayor.
special event at the White House.
Mayor? You just take one and pass it on that way. And you guys.
Ronnie or Malani?
Wonderful. Actually, vice
know.
presidents and wife
I
and
keep asking.
Kellyanne are just some of the, I don't know who else is gonna, yeah. Some of
You gotta take some.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Am I gonna take something? No. On purpose? No.
I'll tell you a story about Betsy's husband, the first time you went to the
Oh.
office.
When you run to my neighbor.
So, Mayor, 6.
It's 6, yep. So we're gonna go ahead and get the town board work session started for December 2nd, 2019. Goal of our work session, as all of our work sessions, is to have the town board receive information on topics of town business from certain folks who are so named. And this evening, though, before we jump into our first actual item, we're gonna talk about snow plowing and our recent snowstorm event, so.
Sure, Mayor, yeah, thank you. So, we had, I think Dr. Jones sent a note a couple days ago asking, just kind of based on some of the negative comments we had on social media, if we were gonna debrief a little bit tonight. And then I think Mr. Sosowski commented something to the same, that we should discuss it. And I said, sure, you know, I already have a meeting set up with staff to discuss and just kind of go through everything, and we'd certainly be happy to give the board an update. So I can tell you in meeting with Parks, Public Works this morning, I feel as confident as I did last week that I think the town put every reasonable resource that we could put towards the storm. You know, we went into basically 24-hour scheduling where we had 2 12-hour shifts starting on Monday morning. We had crews starting, you know, immediately when snow started flying, we were out plowing. We were applying sand and salt immediately. We did 24-hour crews Monday, Tuesday, and really in those 2 days, we were unable to get off our main arterials, you know, really just kind of doing our main roads because of the amount of snow, because of the wind, because of the coldness. Basically, our crews just did on those main arterials. So on Tuesday night, we got our first push into the neighborhoods. By this time, you know, a lot of people have driven on them, kind of push the snow down. You know, when you put a plow over that, you're not gonna get down to the asphalt at that point. You know, the plows are designed to float a little bit on top so they don't take up manholes and you know, all the infrastructure we put in, including our asphalt. So we pushed in with our crews in. We also hired 2 contractors that we have on contract for these kinds of things to help us get in, open up our neighborhoods a little bit more. You know, I think the only mea culpa is we made the decision, you know, kind of the beginning of this thing, that on basically Wednesday, close of business, we're gonna send people home and give them a day to be with their family on Thanksgiving. Other than the fact we did have one person come in, he was doing salt and sand on the different intersections and still trying to keep everything drivable. I don't think having our crews working on Thanksgiving Day would have changed a whole heck of a lot by then, because everything had frozen. So I think the amount of cold, I think the amount of snow. Oh, and then on Friday, we again went back in, had a 12-hour shift in. Then the crews came in that night and worked until 2 in the morning to deal with the wind. They worked all day Saturday, they worked all day Sunday, they worked all day today. So I know some people aren't pleased with it, but I think that given the amount of snow, given the wind and cold in other areas, I think, you know, the solutions I could offer is hire a lot more people in public works and buy a lot more plow trucks.
Except, please mention what kind of storm we had, because this was not an ordinary, run-of-the-mill, regular storm either. You
Right.
found some, you
Yeah,
got
we-
some data and
We
stats, I
did,
think,
yeah.
that
And
showed
what
us.
was it? It was the second,
Second largest
yeah.
of November.
In November, yeah.
Yeah, and I think the last one they typed in Colorado was in 40 years ago.
Yeah.
And then it was the,
Second snowiest day in November on record, and the 3rd largest 2-day total for the month of November in our area.
so, you know, for
Third largest 2-day total.
so it was a big storm. It was really cold. It worked against us. You know, so again, I think we could hire a lot more people in public works and have a lot more trucks so we have the resources to get into the neighborhood sooner. Because again, our guys were, you know, the guy in Crossroads just stayed on Crossroads. He never had the opportunity to go somewhere else. you know, you do the pass, when it comes back, the things you just plowed, the wind had blowed, snow had accumulated, and you just stayed there. So we could hire more people and more trucks, so we have more resources. Or the second solution, which I'm a bit advocate for, and I've talked to Terry and Brian about this previously, is right now we have 2 contractors that we bring on. I would like to do an RFQ, get some more contractors pre-qualified, so we have a Rolodex of 5 or 10 contractors to bring in, to where when we get these kinds of once in a year, once in 40-year kind of storms, where we have folks to bring in sooner. So anyway, we did produce this infographic. We thought it'd be good to get that out so people could see the metrics. And I'd also tell you that most of our comments on social media were positive. You know, I know it started out being really positive, we got some negatives. I'd also tell you that we looked a little bit more, some of the people posting, the people in like California, just trolls, just people with nothing better to do than to mess with the little town of Windsor. And so there weren't actually a lot of our residents there. We've also done a lot of private messaging, trying to get people out and let them say, look, when people say you should have started sooner, well, we started right when the storm started. You know, if you just see a contract for 2 days, it wasn't for lack of effort of our guys.
Right.
So anyway, I think the work the Parks and Public Works did was commendable. You know, I'm proud of their work. And so we're here to answer any questions. And again, I think that we can always improve. You know, we talked today about maybe putting down more salt and sand in residential neighborhoods. Like, you know, we could buy more salt and sand, we could do that. The challenge is once you put it down, you need to come back and scrape it off. And so there's a resource allocation again. You know, we could, when we send the trucks through to do the initial plow, we could put a lot more material down. You know, we could spend another $100,000 a year putting material down. But the question is, are we still have that resource to go back again in an hour or 2 hours and scrape it all off? I don't know that we do. So, yes.
How many plows do we have?
Big trucks, we have 6. Soon to have 7, we're waiting for a new one.
And we did have two of our dump trucks that just had equipment failures and were actually out during the storm.
And those are 2 sanding trucks.
So what do we do, like today? That sun was just melting stuff everywhere, which is awesome. But now it creates all these ruts, right? Because everyone's driven over this snow for 5 or 6 days now. Is there any, are we still doing it as of today, coming through neighborhoods?
That's correct. We're gonna be out until the snow is back and gone. I mean, to the pavement, we're gonna continue out there. We put the icing material down, we're plowing with our plows, we're gonna get our graders out. We have 1 grader, by the way. And we're gonna continue until we get the roads back to somewhat normal conditions. That's, you
So we
know,
can keep all the slush off the road, so
Yeah.
it's safe for everybody to drive on.
Because it seems like the worst spots, I think you guys did awesome, no complaints. Once people start driving it, game over really. But it seems like a lot of the intersections, like where I'm on Highland Meadows, all those streets that come off of there are just really screwed up. Like,
so that's where,
ice
when you're
and
plowing all the
slush.
main ones, that's where, you know, it rolls off the Mulborn and it gets an intersection. That's where we gotta find a way to come back and open that intersection up. But like
Right.
Shane was, you know, talking about, when the wind's blowing, we're trying to stay on those, and the time to get back, and people are already driven over it, it packs down. So, but that is something
Yeah,
that we.
I don't know what the answer is.
Yeah.
It's just kind of what I
Most of the
observed.
complaints we've always gotten on big storms like this is the local streets. Because we're concentrated on our arterials and collectors. And we're trying to keep them open to keep the public moving. But the local streets, you know, I understand that people get upset because, you know, theirs aren't cleared when everybody else's are, but, you know, you just don't have the manpower to be able to do that.
Right.
And you're trying to provide a level of service that's good for the community, and I think we're doing that, but if we want to increase that level of service, then we gotta decide how we're gonna do that.
What's a priority? And we have a plan and we have set the priorities. And locals, unfortunately, are not at the top of the list because we have to make sure that all of the, you know, the major corridors are kept free and clear to keep things that have to happen along those corridors passable. So-
Right. The other thing we always get is, because of this type of snowstorm, you have to determine with the plow what's safe to have that balls of snow roll out.
Right.
You know, and the slower you go, the
More
bigger
mush.
the balls are gonna be.
So this is a wet snowstorm. So Terry's saying, if you go too slow, it causes big mush balls that are about the size of a car. If you can keep your speeds up, that doesn't happen. But this is just a really wet snowstorm.
But when you get that much snow and you've cleaned out your driveway and all of a sudden our plow comes by and, you know, you have snow that high, they get upset, but the plow unfortunately can't eat it, so.
Right. I mean, I'd like
Go
to,
somewhere.
Did Terry or Brian, before the rest of the board asks questions, did you have anything else additionally you wanted to add to Shane and his perspective and comments?
We did bring in contractors on the second day to do all cul-de-sacs. And we had our Parks Division, once they got done doing downtown, they helped out do cul-de-sacs in town. So we did hire contractors to help out with cul-de-sacs.
Yeah, and again, I want to expand that. I think it'd be nice, and one way we could address is because, if we had enough public works folks and equipment to deal with this storm, it's, the old adage, building a church for Easter, right? You've got one day a year, or maybe one day every 40 years when you're staffed for it, and you've got a lot of other days when you've got a public works, they're making up work to do because we're caught up on maintenance, I don't think we need to staff that much. I think a better direction is really focusing on contractors and just paying a third party, probably a lot more for that day than you would have paid your staff, significantly less for the year. So again, this is, we're not new to this. This is a conversation that Terry, Brian, and I had 6 weeks ago. I think, so this is really a direction we want to go. To really kind of pre-qual. I think, for example, the city of Fort Collins has about 100 contractors that they have on pre-qual. So they go through their priority list and look at the same things. And again, as a policy, I think we got to realize that, people say, well, geez, you just made a couple passes down the middle of the street, you didn't do the size. Well, there's a lot of vehicles there, that are hard to get to. And even if we did get all the way to the curb, where does that snow go?
Right.
At some point, you've got to push it somewhere. And the more we push, the more so we're leaving people to plow themselves out. So, we're trying to make it passable where people can get out, they can drive, they've got a path to get out to work and get off the streets. But in no way are we trying to make anybody's residential street look like Crossroads. It's just not a level of service that honestly we can provide.
Where cars are parked, it's tough to plow and widen the street as wide as you can, because then you're putting all that snow right up against the car. And people aren't gonna like that either. So, you have to use some common sense when you're plowing and try to do the best you can with what you have.
Right.
Well, I think it was the nature of the storm too, because it came down as like sleet or freezing rain. So it created this layer of ice that was about an inch thick or more. And then you had all the snow pile in and get packed on and everything
And that's what
else.
caused all the rutting on the bottom, and unfortunately, you can't do much with that after that happens.
They think you ought to just be able to come down and just take the plow right to all the ice and that's not
And the
gonna
reason we
happen.
don't do that is because if you take like a grader, you run that on the ground, your manholes, you're gonna tear up,
Water valves.
and your asphalt too. It's just hard on all that infrastructure, so, in a better storm, you take it down where you leave the thin layer of snow, and you get a little bit of snow and it melts off and it opens up.
Well, I think we just need to remind people, we do live in Colorado. Colorado does have winter. While we are blessed most of the time where we don't have to drive on ice or have snow, it is not to be, it's not like it's not ever expected that is not gonna happen. And even when we have an event, I think the expectation that everything should be 100% clear is not reality, because it is still winter. There's probably still more snow to come.
Right.
And that's just, it's because we live in Colorado.
Right, and when I look at, I saw one post that said, Fort Collins and Loveland, their streets were much better. I think they're talking about Harmony, they're talking about Mulberry, they're talking about Highway 34. As you look in the residential neighborhoods, I got off on a couple of side streets over the holiday, and I can tell you, they
weren't plowed.
Yeah, they weren't plowed, or they were, something that those cities were struggling with as well. So I don't think our level of service and our delivery was less than any neighboring jurisdiction. I don't, and even driving around, I live north, and driving around Timoth, there were areas, the main arterials were really well maintained, and other areas were drive slower.
We're also blessed because most of the time, the next day it gets up past freezing and then things already start melting. It didn't get above freezing for 2 to 3 days, so nothing was melting.
The other thing I'd like to mention, Brian has done a good job getting this new drivers, the new employees, the parks employees all trained. And you don't do that with one snowstorm. So it takes several snowstorms that he has to go out with them, and then he finally turns them loose. But, you don't learn everything overnight in a snowplow.
Out of the 22 people that we have help with this snowstorm, 7 of them have a year under their, or less underneath their belt. So we've had a lot of turnover, it takes time to train people.
And we did, I can't remember if Brian or Terry suggested, but we do have a dash cam that we can use. So we're thinking about the next snowstorm, put it on Brian's truck, just tell him to, use his Christian words when he's driving. But we may do that. And then, I think it'd be good to show people like little clips of that, not show them, 12 hours behind the wheel, but show them the clips of the visibility that these snowplow drivers are seeing. And even I think we can kind of editorialize and say now, when you're coming back, this is the pass you just made on Crossroads an hour ago, and look at it, so people just have a more realistic understanding. In Grand Lake, they have the trail groomers that do all the snowmobile trails, and they do little live showings that on Facebook all the time. You think, my God, I don't know how somebody survives that. I don't know how they see anything. Just up on this hillside with all this snow coming down the streets. So, I think we've spoken. Please, board.
I think the idea of increasing our reference numbers for contractors is a great idea, if it's possible. Because you said Fort Collins is using, Mirror is using contractors. So when we get to that point, I'll have some questions about whether or not we have to put people on like a retainer, or do we?
Well, we talked about how we maintain that,
And so
basically have somebody go
if we
through every
contract this-
September and checking and saying, okay,
Yeah.
is this your updated price list, is your equipment here, are you able to do this?
Yeah.
And so, we'd have to massage that, and you're right, I think it will be a challenge.
Yeah.
Because there's we don't just want somebody with a dog and a pickup truck.
A pickup truck
We
with a
need-
blade on it. It's
we
similar
we need real
liability
equipment.
issues I'm thinking about also.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing I have to add is Christie, I liked your messages, by the way. I
Yes.
thought they were spot on. And then, the thing that I've told people is, I got I'm down on Main Street, and, some of the residents that live there, not the businesses, are complaining, of course, because we're gonna plow it back on. I said, I had no better answer than it's part of society. I grew up in Iowa, and it was like, the snowplow comes, you go shovel everything, the snowplow comes by, and you go out and have to get into your driveway. It was just part of the deal. And my other thing, I just said, you can't live in Colorado and not expect to be inconvenienced at least once in a while because of the snow. It's just part of living here. And so I know everyone wants everything perfect, but there's also reality. And so I think those messages have been fairly well received. It's easy for someone to sit behind their keyboard and spout out, why don't you just drop the plow a couple inches lower, stuff like that.
Right, or why don't you guys start plowing sooner? Just not understanding that these guys have been working tireless hours.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions, Mark?
I have a comment on part of your webcam idea. I know Terry always mentions we have these GPS, we know when the blade's up or down. Maybe not real time, but after the fact, you could show like this plow was just going back and forth, or kind of giving people a snapshot of and when they started, and just
Right, because we mentioned that as an infographic, but yeah, just know, because if somebody says, geez, I haven't seen a plow hasn't been on locust, we can look and say, yeah, you're right, or sorry, sir, it's,
But that's something we
it
can
passes.
publish out, even if it's after the fact. Put up a map and they'll show plow 1 went this route 5 times, whatever. I don't know how it looks, but just a way to get more information out there so we can educate people better about what's going on.
It seems to me it may be advisable to just turn off the microphone on his dash cam, then you don't have to worry.
Better safe than sorry.
Just curious, so you mentioned that there were 6 trucks, I think you said?
We have 6 large trucks, yeah.
So when it says 12,
That's counting pickup plows.
so the 12 is all
With
of
6
town
pickup
assets.
plows and
That's
6
what
large.
They can put plows on the front
That's
of
what
the
the
town
parks,
pickups.
parks.
And then you contract and you brought in another 7 loaders and 4. Yeah, okay. I think your contracting out is perfect, and that's exactly what we need to do. But maybe communication a little bit, because I feel like once something got posted on Nextdoor, it started spinning.
Right, and if you look at that, you'll see that Kim was monitoring that, and she was saying, let me PM you this, and she's trying to take those offline and communicate, and she's texting Brian at 3 in the morning, hey, is this right? So
Yeah.
we were doing that, but there's also sometimes people who post that are just mad at the world. In some, it's not, I don't think every single post is worth taking offline, and again, when we're looking, and this person's in California, I feel comfortable ignoring that.
And while I think contracting is a good potential solution, I do want to caution everybody though, because most of these contractors may already be contracted,
Yeah.
and we may not have that availability. So while I think that that's a great idea, in reality, again, who we might get is yet to be seen, right? So I don't want folks thinking that now that we've said that next time everything's gonna be fixed because we've
That's right.
made that, we've gotten that as a solution. It may not be a solution.
And a part of that, saying no, Mayor, is that, ideally, we'd have somebody like Brian driving around checking on things. He wouldn't be the actual plower, and that's really, it's just we have so many new folks. He feels like he needs to be riding shotgun and training them, and that's the right place for him to be right now. But ultimately, it's not really where we want him to be. He needs to be out looking side by side, taking these complaints in.
And we also have people that want to take vacation, and so we only allow one off per shift. And, so we're not letting them take vacation when they want to take it, because we just don't have the people to have 2 snow crews active through a snowstorm, so.
And so Terry and Eric are both really popular this time of year.
Well, it comes up big time when it comes around holidays.
Yeah.
Right, so there's one person from Parks and one person from Public Works.
And I hate it when
So
it
they-
happens on Christmas and Thanksgiving.
That's what it's gonna happen.
Doc Jones?
Yeah, well, I grew up in western New York, so this is all kind of amateur hour that we're talking about. But anyway, the biggest thing I was here is comparisons. Gosh, I went to Fort Collins. Fort Collins was great, in great shape. But actually, right out here, people coming in on 392, they said it was clear. They got to the cemetery, and then Main Street was just ruts for the next mile. And a guy came over to my house the other day, and he lives on 10th Street. He had to go out to Severance on Thanksgiving Day. And he said he pulled off 10th Street onto Main Street, and it was so rutted that, he was having trouble steering and controlling the car. And then he got out to the cemetery, and then all of a sudden it was clear sailing. So I'm assuming CDOT has a different system than we have to.
So they do put down liquid. We haven't got into that yet.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Yeah, and as far as the contracting goes, I remember, Terry, you might remember what year it was that we had contractors in here for a week and a half, I
In
think.
1976, we had about a 4-foot snowstorm.
Was that it? And we plowed everything to the middle of the roads, and they were going, and of course, we exceeded the plowing budget by I don't know how much. But the ones we have now, are they on retainer? Do we have to
They're not
pay
on
them
a
a
retainer,
retainer?
but they're on standby, so Brian calls them, tells them that we need them out at a certain time. And so they will go ahead and say, well, we have 5 loaders that we can put out there. We've got, 4 loaders we can put out there. The rest are, out in some subdivision somewhere being used, but we utilize all the equipment they have at that time. But they're local contractors, and we'll see how many more that we can get, and try to increase that.
We have a memorandum of understanding with them. So
Right.
if they're in the area, because a lot of contractors are building, Berthoud, and if they have equipment, then great. If not, we go on to the next one.
You said you're not putting down liquid?
Yeah, so we're using granular. It's called Ice Buster. It's pretty much a rock salt mixed with an Apex, which is a liquid material to help make it stick. We're looking into, after the first year, doing pre-wet, which is a liquid that adds on to the granular.
You think that's why the 392 outside of town would?
That helps with, you get ahead of the snowstorm, they apply a liquid, which everybody knows is,
When you see-
chloride.
yeah.
We haven't got into that. That's something that, we kind of stay with City of Fort Collins because they, they work a lot with CSU with a lot of studies as far as what works well. They do a lot of salt brine. Where we get our product from is from City of Fort Collins. We get a great relationship with them, and the product works. It's just the pre-wet's the next step. So when you apply the material, it doesn't scatter everywhere, and that's kind of what we have right now. But when we apply the wet to it, it sticks right to where it is.
Well, and I think the second thing is that when you look at our downtown and people parking, backing up and stuff, packing it in, I think it's just a different traffic pattern you'll see in downtown. Once you get out on the highway, where you really just have an open highway and you laid it off. So I think both. I think it's a little bit means and methods that they use. And secondly, it's not the exact same condition when you look at those.
You'll see CDOT on the news while they're out spreading that chemical down even before it starts snowing. And that's what they try to do. They try to get that down on all the roads before the snow starts, so it'll all just start melting off right away.
But CDOT also has, I guess, the luxury of just going, when they get into winter storm, they go into the kind of 12 on, 12 off
Right.
cruise anyway. I don't think we have that luxury in Windsor of taking 50% of our public works and park staff and saying, well, just come in, you're 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. or 7 p.m. to 7 a.m. You know, and we're not gonna get a lot of stop signs fixed at 2 in the morning. We'll have, our PD will be busy because people will be calling them. So, you know, they have the ability, I think generally, to just really focus all the resources on this. And we have to work in a little bit different world where we'll go into the shifts when we really see the storm coming, but we're not gonna just stay there and.
And other things that can impact us is if we have a sewer backup, a water main break, something like that during a snowstorm, we gotta take a lot of the guys that are in the plow and we've gotta put them out handling those other problems.
Traffic lights, we did have problems with our traffic lights, it
Yeah.
just happens when you have snowstorms.
Accidents that are blocking our.
Yeah, I mean, we had, you know, abandoned vehicles, you have semis that are stuck.
We did help pull out 3 semis that were stuck off the side of the road.
Well, beside the expense, putting the liquid down, are there disadvantages to that?
A lot of that comes with man hours, you know, you have to have people be able to be around to apply it at a certain time. Because if you apply it too late, it can freeze up and you're gonna cause more damage, make the roads really icy. And then when you need people, you know, you've used their hours up, now you need them to plow. So that's the biggest one, is having enough people to do that operation. Then number 2 is having a facility to store the liquid, which, you know, that's big money. But it's just a big process if we're gonna dive into
And then the
that.
equipment.
And the equipment's the other thing
Yeah.
I didn't talk about.
You gotta get to be a pretty large community before you can start doing that.
And there's different types of, you know, there's salt brine, you know, and there's, you know, with the mag chloride. There's so many different products we would have to, you know, look into and what's the right material for us.
I think you have to look at too, the volume that we have and the frequency. I mean, this happens, you know, not even every year that we have storms of this magnitude. And so do we go to this expense and all this extra effort for the one in every 40 years? Is that really worth where the dollar should go? You know.
I think all in all, we're actually blessed that it happened during a week where all the kids were out of school. I mean, we didn't have extra traffic going to, you know, all of that on top. I mean, whether they would have been in school or out, my point is they were off during the whole week, so we didn't have that as an issue as well.
Every storm's different. I mean, the temperature, wind, how much snow you get, which direction the wind's blowing, all will make an impact, either positive or negative on the storm.
Any final
I
questions?
have one question, just more about staffing. How do people, you only allow one person to go on vacation? Is that, so for the whole winter?
So per day or per period that someone asks off, there's one public works person and one parks person that can be off, and they're not used.
So if someone wants to take, you know, the first week in February off, someone may have already taken it.
If someone has taken it, you can't get it off.
Wow.
Yeah, and we have had, you know, during exit interviews, that's come up. People say, geez, it's so inflexible. But it's just, the other end of it is, you know, this is really when we need them here. And it's part of their job, so.
Do a lot of communities use park staff? I mean, is this?
I think that's pretty much
Pretty
the
typical.
norm is to use them. And for example, we've split our staff basically in half. Half of them do the rec center, the town hall, and PD, and then when they have time, they get into the secondary stuff. And then the other half, 2 go to public works and work in the big plows, and then the other 5 work in pickup trucks and do downtown and one of the subdivisions. And then in this storm, as Brian said, when they were done with that, they called Brian, so where can we go next? And he told them.
A lot of the municipalities have, you know, their utilities, which is their, you know, traffic lights, signal lights, they come over and help plow. They have their, you know, water and sewer, they come out, help them plow, but also like their streets division, also use Fort Collins. I believe they have like 80 employees and they have X amount of plow trucks. They throw them in there, and then if they want to go on vacation, you know, the next person steps up and they go right back into the pool of people that are available. But you have to wait to be the next person to get into a truck until the next person goes on vacation. So the difference with the bigger municipalities, they have more people available to handle snowstorms.
Yeah, I can just imagine, you know, you come to work as a parks person, all of a sudden you're.
Well, but a lot of
I
these
guess they have
folks
anything
are,
else to do.
they're former public works employees that have transitioned over and said, you get to keep the keys to the dump truck. You know,
Some of our inspectors in engineering you know, we utilize them when we need to.
Wow.
Fort Collins utilizes every division they have that, of people that they know that can run a snowplow.
Not the town council, though, you know.
No, we still need to keep our insurance, so this
But we do have a ride-along program. If anybody wants to come out and ride with us when we're out plowing, we do have a ride-along.
And I think that's the biggest thing. People think when we're out plowing that it's just as clear as it is during the day.
Yeah.
They don't understand that there's some nights we can barely see, you know, 10 feet in front of us, so.
Anything else?
Just to thank you guys.
Yes, big thank you.
Well,
Yes.
thank you guys. Thank you guys for giving us all the equipment and manpower that we need, and thank you, Mayor, for writing the letter that you did.
You're very welcome.
It's all much
Yeah,
appreciated.
and I just want to say it publicly again, Terry, Brian, and all the rest of your crew, you make us proud. You did a fantastic job under the conditions that you had to deal with. And I think that we have, you know, we couldn't ask for a finer team of hardworking folks. And so you guys have done a great job. We appreciate all that you do and will continue to do, right? This is the first one and so we're barely here. So
Maybe
there's
you got it out of our way.
probably meant much more to go, but either way, yes, you guys did a fantastic job, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Now get back to work.
No, go get some sleep.
Go get some sleep.
That's the wrong one.
there's a little bit on my road. I check my computer.
If Mr. Sislowski rides along, I'm sure a street gets done.
Oh, yeah,
Close his driveway.
Yeah.
Find me in a heap of snow somewhere else.
Okay. And so with that, we will jump into our number one item this evening, which is for the Invisio software town strategic plan demonstration, I guess, or?
Yeah, so I'll kind of kick this off, Mayor. So everybody remembers the strategic plan, and we've taken and prettied it up a little bit. So there is a recent copy of some of the highlights here. You'll remember we had 5 focus areas, which are highlighted in here. And so I tell you that when I hired Christine, kind of the first project I really sat down with her about is said, hey, help me with this strategic plan. I want to really get it organized here. There's so many projects that have, we have so many we have 5 focus areas, but we have all these goals, we have all these action steps and all these different staff assigned. And so let's just really work to take and pull this into a document that works. So she went to work and she's a very organized person and she started pulling things into Excel and we started seeing, how limiting Excel was, as you go through and you start putting down goals and action steps and all of a sudden you kind of roll and say, well, here's a new goal and then kind of track through all this detail of staff and being able to say, well, we're trying to acquire property from this property owner to this property owner, and we've got a CDOT review, and you get all these big narratives that don't really fit with Excel. So we were working through it, but we still found that once we get this document done with Excel, how are we going to really communicate to the board what's going on? How are we going to take all this data and do that? And equally as importantly, how are we going to communicate with the public? When I see posts and people say, geez, the town should be taking all this money that comes in from development and putting it back into roads, I think, yeah, we're doing that. But it's, how do we communicate all these priorities and all these projects we're doing? So about this time, Eric, they're doing a strategic plan. And he brought up, well, geez, I'm looking at Invisio, and I think this would help me kind of organize the strategic plan. And so, we also have the capital improvement plan, we also have the transportation master plan, we have the police department doing their strategic plan. And so we started talking to this leadership team, like, geez, it'd be nice if we had a software that could help us track these things, but also helps us communicate. And so we took a look at Invisio and thought, man, this is maybe our ticket here. There's a lot of municipalities that do it. We're going to kind of walk you through, just kind of let you get a feel for it, and then we also want to kind of show you how to communicate back to the board, what's going to be on the website. So this is just kind of the showcase. And so I'll tell you, because I'm sure you're going to ask, that the software itself costs $24,000, and that's how much we've spent. But that's to get about 40 users on it. and that'll include all 5 of our plans. So we'll have the transportation master plan, we'll have the capital improvement plan, and what's great is we can also link these things. So if we have, if the strategic plan talks about roads and infrastructure, we know that County Road 5 is an important connection, and it's also in the transportation master plan, and it's also in the CIP. These things can all be connected. So as we do one update, it'll update every plan at once. And so this is also a software that makes everybody updated at a minimum monthly. So this is gonna be fresh. So we're gonna always have department heads, managers, and people working and touching this plan. So everybody can feel comfortable with the strategic plan, even though it has been a living, breathing, moving document. It'll be even more so with the software, because it prompts you can't get through the month without doing it. So that's kind of the overview of this. So Christine is going to walk you guys through a little bit, just kind of, I think, delve into like a focus area and show you an example of this, and then we can get into the reporting.
Is it software that is built specific for municipalities or in government, or not? Do you know?
It's used mostly by.
It's used, but it was it developed for?
That's a great question, Eric.
It's a great question. I think, I can't say definitely yes, but
Oh.
all the users we've looked at, and we've looked at thousands, are all
Are them?
municipalities.
Yeah, so there are.
There's no prior experience. You guys haven't used this somewhere else?
No.
No, but we did, we had quite a few demos. We had the leadership team go through the demos, and so I think we vetted this really well.
And we looked at, I know I've probably looked at least 100 municipal websites that are using it, from places our size all the way up to, several 100,000 people populations.
Was Corinne's group involved with kind of part of the analysis?
Sorry,
Corinne's group?
Corinne? Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely.
I would think so.
So just kind of walk you through, this is the back-end user view, and I think we might be in my, is this in my dashboard eventually?
Yeah.
So it really mirrors what you've seen in the strategic plan document that Shane passed out. So you can see the focus areas across the top. So for example, if we wanted to click on infrastructure, which is on the left, so that's the focus area. Down below that are the goals. And then if we wanted to pick a goal, like for example, adopt a multimodal plan, down under that are the 3 action steps that are currently there today. And then, so as a user, I'm prompted, as Shane alluded to, on a monthly basis to, if I have an action step assigned to me, or it could be anyone within my staff or someone else throughout the town, and it literally people, the 40 users are represent a variety of people within our staff, all different levels. So someone's assigned to something, and then about the 15th of every month, they're prompted via email from Invisio that you need to update your action plan, your action step, and you have 5 days to get it done. And if they don't do it, their supervisor can see that they didn't do it. So that it doesn't put back that burden that was there on Christine or department head to chase down someone who didn't do it. The computer's prompting them to get their work done, update the plan. So for example, if I wanted to update the TMP, I would click on the little button there.
Are you?
I don't think I can update that.
Okay.
So,
So.
but that's a great example though, but you can click on it and then it would, if you want to click over to quality of life maybe,
Okay.
we'll switch to a different one just so you could see, because since we're in my dashboard.
Is there
So
any way
you
to
can't
see?
go into other folks'
If I'm not assigned to it,
Okay.
I can't.
So we have a lead for everything, so we have.
So who's the ultimate administrator? Shane?
So right now it's
I mean, because you
Shane.
should have somebody
Yes.
who can get into
Right.
everything,
Yeah,
right? And
which I
they
can
make
provide.
assignments
Yep,
to the
the
different
administrative
departments.
rights is Shane, and then Christine has them as well, and she's obviously reporting directly to him. So let's say, for example, the first one, 2.1, develop a detailed trails and open space plan. So then develop the PRC strategic plan. If I wanted to edit that, we're gonna click on that, and there's the ability to go in there and make edits, whether I want to, so you can see there's some checking the boxes where we weighted the different steps. And so, for example, if I wanted to change the date, like I originally thought that the strategic plan would be done by the end of this year. I now know that it's going to hopefully this board will adopt it in March. I would go in there and edit the date, and I can change that on the plan so that it doesn't say that, hey, I'm late because of something that's changed in my control. And so then if you jump out of that, you can go into the actual monthly update.
Before,
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, in there, if you glanced and saw there was an owner, and that's Eric, CEO, and then he has contributors, and he can assign as many as he wants that have licenses, so when he has staff that has pieces to update, he can assign those contributors, so like TF is Tara,
Tara, Christy
Kendra.
Zukowski, Kendra, that's a great point, I'm glad you mentioned that.
So that's where we, as an owner of an action step, can add contributors to help us that have more up-to-date information.
So like Wade may know much more about the trails than I do in terms of what's going on a daily basis. He then has the ability to go in there and make notes and say, I had a meeting with GoCo on a trail, and it's there.
Yeah, same, or if you look at community development, you know, John Thornhill may be the owner, but, you know, if we're gonna get an update on 392 Kendra 5, Omar's the guy to update it, that's his project, so he's going to assign those out because, you know, but this tracks it in and it gives us the ability, just through the magic of software, to really stay on top of all these projects at the same time. It highlights who hasn't updated, and what I love about it is it forces everybody to touch this plan at least once a month. And so everybody's really familiar, they're always kind of going back and checking things and making sure we're working on all the right things.
What prevents someone from arbitrarily just keep changing the date?
So
I mean, do you have to justify, when you make that date change, you have to give a reason or?
anytime you enter this, everything you type is saved, and we can run a report, and I can see that someone updated something, or they changed the date, or so there is a check and balance within.
I mean, I'm not saying
I get
that
what
this
you're
would be
saying.
done, but
Right.
if somebody just consistently just wasn't getting
Right,
it done,
kicking the can down
and
the
they
road
just,
kind of thing.
because they,
Yes.
for whatever reason, I
Right.
mean,
Everything
without
is-
justification, you
everything's
just don't want
tracked.
people moving dates
Yep,
back, saying,
absolutely.
okay, I didn't get it done, but I
Right,
mean,
and-
some reason like, well, you know, we didn't have enough time to get all the stakeholders together for
And
this
that
meeting.
is, so that should just be stated in there, and so, when we get to the public reporting, you'll see, when we get into, so there's some color coding on the reporting, I think that'll help answer your question as well. But straight to the point, every keystroke is saved, so that we can go back and check something if there's,
It's called footprints or something.
yes, something like that. Or
Eric, on the
crumb,
prior,
cookie crumb.
it's not so obvious on this screen, one of the prior screens, scroll down.
To-
Keep scrolling down. On this one where there's a blue progress 80%,
Yes.
that yellow bar seems to be probably kind of close to 80%.
Mhm.
But I noticed on the prior screen, there were two things that were 100% complete, but the yellow bar was kind of like over at 25 somewhere. And so I don't know if the yellow bar is
So
indicative of.
you can weight things, so you can say if something is like, run an RFP, and you think, well, RFP is hardly any work at all, you know, it's not near as much as building a road. So you can weight these different tasks, so some things you can weight them really low, other ones you can give greater significance to. So you can really get through and be extremely detailed on these things. So you could say, well, we need to purchase more land, we need to go out to bid and do this, and you can weight them all at 30 each time you hit a task. So
Well,
Dave, I
I'm
think
just
that
wondering-
shows, she hovered over it to show
Yeah.
you.
progress 80%, expected 70.
So they're kind of ahead of
So
progress.
we're slightly ahead of the timeline. So for example, that is,
Oh, okay.
That's what they should be,
Okay.
correct.
So the yellow line is
where
where
they
you
should be, so either before or
because
after.
in order to
So
track
even
this,
though
you have
those were
to.
100% complete, they were done way ahead of time.
Well,
So,
but it might-
so in order to have the progress bar, you have to set a date. You have to say this is gonna be
Right,
done
date certain.
April 15th. And so it'll track back with your task. So if you are checking things off, it's say, well, geez, you're ahead of schedule because we divided this by 10 and you've already done 8 things. So
And the other thing you might have been seeing is if there's a step that was completed, that step may be 100%, but not necessarily a whole action step or the goal. So
What do you want me to?
if you wanted to go out to where you would edit that to make your monthly edit,
Here?
yeah, submit updates.
Do it under you.
So she has to jump back in.
yeah, she's all done. Don't go into
Yeah.
project.
Doing my thing.
So if I wanted to update the.
Now we see the progress report of the
The Field Museum's collections facility. So that I could go in there and, for example, in December, I'm gonna probably type something like, the rail system is complete, the fire protection system is done, all walls are painted, the building is, pretty close to being turned over. A great example, sidestep today, was they actually turned over the cold storage to Public Works building. That building's done, and they get to move vehicles in it tomorrow. So Terry, for example, even though this falls under mine, he would tell me that, hey, that's done, and I will enter it under the Parks Maintenance Facility that cold storage for Public Works is completed. And so that I might move that bar to 85% or to 84%. It's kind of a give the user as well as the board internally, and then as you'll see with the public externally, it gives them an idea of how we're making progress and whether we're gonna get the project done on time.
And I think most importantly, as we're doing this, it's not, geez, we do 84, 86. It's, when people look month to month, they say, okay, this has moved, and they see, say, oh, this building's done. You know, it's, it means something, so we're not trying to, you know, some of these things are a little bit subjective to the user, but, yeah.
Something like this building, there could be thousands of action steps. How do you know what to consider an action
That's
step?
a great question. It depends on the project and how detailed the person who built the action step wants to be. It goes back to what Shane said. You could say build a building in 4 steps, or you just say 400.
Right.
And then depending on how, it's really on how you want to track it to show, like for me, my point of view, to show Shane, and then he's showing you, and then obviously we're showing the public.
So something
it's a balancing act. Something that big is gonna be big.
Like action steps would be bundled.
Right, but if it's, if you looked at one, I think it was under Shane, was hire a water manager, that might have publish the position, interview, hires, 3 steps.
Gotcha.
And really for something like that, I'd see it as just kind of one thing, you know, you hire them, check it off. I mean, it's just, you know, so you wouldn't want to complicate it. And we're seeing even with the users, like the way that some people went through and made a lot of tasks and they're checking this off. Other people just had kind of one task, and when you look at the detail, they had all these steps, but they didn't really break it out. So we're trying to get some uniformity, you know, saying, look, it's probably better, I just don't want people to see 0 progress, and then 9 months later it's 100% done. You know, I'd rather kind of track it through. So we're still playing with it.
You almost need like a generic, like you should have these 5, like you kick
Well,
off
and
days.
again, as we play with it in each department head, because we can go and we can sit down and walk through it in a meeting like this, and until they've sat through and did their first update, and then all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, now I see. So
Now in detail, yep,
So it's like, what are the critical points?
correct.
Like if they're gonna paint a room, I need to put on there, I need to find paintbrushes and paint. But what are the critical steps involved?
That's right.
Like
That's
selecting
great.
right
That's a
color,
great analogy.
whatever the critical steps would be, not each detail.
That's right.
We've had a lot of conversations internally, and we've done help desks where we've sat in this room for a couple hours, come in, ask questions, so we can talk about those
Right.
or find those issues and decide together how to put them together.
And what's great is, you know, so this April we'll do another strategic kind of visioning with the board and kind of go through this again. And so anything that's in there right there, everything stays. So if it's not complete, if it's more of a 5-year, so this also allows us to kind of build in that continuity of between board to board, and all these previous priorities don't get thrown into the wastebasket the second you swear in a few new people, right? These things just will continue, so that this kind of makes a nice living, unless that board says this is no longer a priority, okay, well, all right, bosses, we'll get rid of it.
But it's still there, I guess.
Short of that, yeah.
If you can document that, that's what the decision
This
was.
would be really good for town board members too, because we come in and I can think faster than you all can work. You know what I mean? I can think of more projects than you have resources to do. So we come together strategic planning, we can come up with some great ideas. But this will, I think, help us be realistic and prioritize, okay, what realistically can we do in 2 years? And,
Right,
yeah.
well, and a lot of things that go in the monthly talking points are honestly out of this document. So we'll still do that document, but, you know, anytime the board or the public can go and reference the website and go to this thing and see where these projects are. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have all that pertinent data there, so you guys will be able to get, you know, really up-to-date, relevant data at your fingertips.
Does this have the ability to kind of act like a Gantt chart too, where you pick a list of tasks, but task F can't be done until task B is done? You know,
You can map it that
You can
way,
map
it's a
it
different
Gantt
view.
chart.
I think that, yeah, I mean, that's the way I think, and I think most people think you gotta do this and this and this, so it's kind of, and sometimes things can run simultaneously and a little bit out of order, depending on what's going on.
but it helps, it's usually, and where that really comes in handy is establishing your do your deadline date?
Yeah, work back.
Because you think of doing all these tasks, forgetting that you can't do B until B is done.
Right.
And so you.
So I think they're gonna run one, I'm glad you asked that question, because it really does move into the next piece of this, which is reporting. And they're gonna run one as a kind of a Gantt chart just
So-
on the screen, but this report is an example of a monthly report that we can give you. But you wanna go ahead and show them the Gantt view?
So just real quick, this is the 3 different ways to look at it. So we're kind of looking more like an organizational chart. That's what we showed you first. So here's the Gantt chart of the entire plan. And it starts again, we always start with focus areas, you work to a goal, and then down to your action areas. So if I expound out infrastructure, and I want to look at this goal for the multi-modal transportation plan, this is this information that's been entered in. So it's how it's entered in, but I see where you're headed. They have the ability to do this inside the action steps as well. So this is that internal function. Reporting it out, we haven't figured that detail out, but I think we might be able to get a Gantt chart if that's what you're headed towards.
Even this, as long as you put it, somehow can link it to say, action step 1.1.2 can't be started until 1.1.1 is done. Right now, they look like they can flow at the same time, but in some instances, they can't.
Right.
And so it'll visually look, you'll see going, but this is real nice.
So the report that you have, the paper you have here, basically is kind of an everything that we can tell you, every little detail. I think what we're going to do as we begin to report out next year to you is give you probably a report that looks like these first 5 or 6 pages where you see the colored
And the goals,
The
and
goals.
the idea would be like, probably just under the, monthly, in the board packet, under town manager communications, we'll just put this in there. And then, maybe a couple times a year, just kind of give you the information dump where we have everything in there, but, this is 30 pages, and then we also want to report out on transportation master plan, CIP. I just have to throw in a few, aside from David, I think the rest of you would prefer to not have 90 or 100 pages of reports every month. So I think we'll try to pick what we think is good for the board informationally. Obviously, within these projects, if the board has a question about any specific project, like you already do, if they're key projects, we can always give you more detail. But I just don't want to give you guys so much detail that the entire report becomes lost because there's too much to read. I'd rather give you 5 pages, you guys can look at it. If you look and say, geez, I'd like to know why we had disruption on this. What's going on there? Oh, well, we didn't get funding from ZOCA, or whatever that is. So we can always give you more detail on that, but we'll kind of start out there and work our way.
And then if we had a question, you would have a bigger packet at your fingertips.
That's right.
Answers.
That's right.
Could the color coding?
Yeah, I was
Wasn't
gonna
the
ask.
legend.
Yeah, so you want to jump into the public dashboard? That's probably the easiest way to share it with you. So the next step is to that transparent view to show the public what we're working on. So please do not critique the look of it at this point. We haven't vetted
It's all content right now.
it's all content. It really is. Don't critique the look.
Yeah, we're looking at you, Mayor.
We've not met with Kim yet to say, does this look right, do the colors match, all of that stuff. This is just kind of our mock-up at this point, but we hope to go live in January with it. So we're gonna spend some time with Kim this month, obviously. So as you scroll through it, so this would be what the public sees. And so there are our focus areas right there. So for example,
Just click on the infrastructure again.
don't click on that one yet.
Well, not yet.
So down here on the left, to Ken's question, if it's green, it means we're on track. We believe we're gonna accomplish the goal at the time stated. If it's yellow, that means there's some kind of minor disruption, like we just had a big snowstorm, so it delayed the project. They couldn't build with the road because we had a snowstorm, so we're delayed by a week. A major disruption is something that's really halted the project. And the most recent example I'll give you is the creamery. The board decided, hey, let's pause this project. We're not gonna do it. So if that project was in there, it now is red and says it's a major disruption. Blue is completed, and then I don't think we have any purples yet, do we?
We
do.
Do we?
And
We should
upcoming
create some.
means that those people have planned out. So
Oh,
now
great.
we have
So
a
when you
date
say
that's
like-
further out than we thought.
Like build a new recreation center, okay, well, we're not under construction, we haven't gone to the voters to do that, we
But it's
know
on the
that
list.
it's something that's gonna be upcoming, so it's, it's not behind, it's just not anywhere, but it is an identified project that's out there.
So that's how you view your chart in your reports as well as what the public would see. So if you'll scroll back up. So again, this is what the public sees. So these are our focus areas. We define them so the public understands, well, what do they mean by infrastructure or quality of life? And then so you click on infrastructure.
And the key is those come directly from this same document,
Yes.
this document.
And the other thing to remember is this is updated live. So if I'm an eager beaver and I update December 10th and not the 15th, it goes through and the website's there. So as you do this, the website is current, people are getting real-time information. So what you see here is these are the goals. And so it gives them the status bar of where those goals that the board set for us to accomplish. And so the public is able to see what we're doing and what the progress has been made on that specific goal.
Well, in some things, you're never gonna be done. When you say partner with regional, state, and federal agencies, well, at what point you say, well, we just locked Evans down, we're done doing this? It's gonna be ongoing, right? So some of these things is gonna be a little bit tongue in cheek, because we're gonna add things, we're gonna add priorities over time, they're gonna connect back to this, and there'll just always be a little progress and a little bit to do still.
And every goal has to sit within one of the 5 focus areas.
That's right.
And some of them are clumped across.
Right.
Yeah, so like economic development, public safety, there's things that just kind of, fit in at least 2 things. We have kind of the mother and the clone. We have the primary one, which is infrastructure, and the clone is, there's also public safety in this, so there's also economic development. So,
I'm trying to picture how it's going to show transportation master plan with our infrastructure.
well, and that's more
Yeah.
for us.
Oh, is it?
It'll show up
Okay.
in both camps. It's more on,
Okay.
on staff side of things. Okay,
Okay.
well, who really owns it? Should Stacy own this or should Scott Ballstack? Who, is this more economic development? Is this more planning? And,
Okay.
And the joy of the software is then you clone that. You clone that over into safety, and anytime Scott makes an update, let's say it's his,
Okay.
it copies it over, so there's no dual entry.
Right.
You take out human error and keep consistent.
So if somebody wanted to look at it, they could go deeper in the report and see transportation.
well, but this is, we're gonna show you how deep they can go, because we don't wanna,
Okay.
I don't think we wanna get too detailed for the public in kind of the level, the level that the public sees, like Eric said, they've gone through 100 of these. I did. Christie was nice enough to highlight the 5 ones she thought did best, and I looked through those. So thank you for timing that, I appreciate it. But we have gone through it and really tried to kind of pick as far as, geez, I really like the way they updated this. I like the way the information is, and it's how visible is it on the website, and how much do these track through, and so go ahead and just click through on one of these here.
And then these are the action steps.
Oh, there you go.
So at this point, they can go through, they can see all the different actions, they can kind of get a priority, and we don't allow more than that, do we, Christie? No.
But you could.
You could, right. There are communities out there that we've looked at that, like if you clicked on update code for Xeriscape, it would give you 15 more drop downs. This is what we're doing for that code. And then even within them, they might drop down even farther. It got really granular and difficult to follow. And I was like, do we really want to share every detail of it? Because what would happen is, as a user, you would be sitting at the computer typing everything you did every moment of the day just to show it all on the website.
Right. Yeah, and every update would say updated this plan.
But internally, it's that detailed.
Yes,
yeah, internally
absolutely.
it is. And we can't look at that, it's just like from a public standpoint of, again, we say, we're gonna build this trail, have you done it or not? Have you made progress? You said you're gonna have this trail done for April 15th.
What's the disruption?
Yeah.
I think Eric made a really good point, though. You could spend a lot of time updating this. I'm not even talking for the public consumption, just you end up spending more time doing reporting than doing work.
So,
real.
we're requiring once a month. As a user, you can go in there when you've accomplished something and make a note if you want, or you can just wait till the once a month and type in what you got accomplished. And that's also the reason why there's so many contributors and it's spread out. So for example, for me, I may have, I don't know, 10 action steps and 20 users that are helping contribute information of what we're getting accomplished. If it was just all on my shoulders, then that's exactly what I would do.
Right.
It's
But
just sit there.
I would also say, you know, I think for this, you know, my opinion is, you know, the strategic plan is the most important thing we're working on. You know, when you get past the day-to-day, I mean, this is the work of the town, right? This is kind of things that are important to the board, these are things that are important to the community. And I think it's okay for me to make this a task, make sure we're tracking it right, to make sure all staff is working on it, because this is the work they should be doing. So it's, you know, if you were spending 40 hours a week updating the plan, then we'd have a problem. But I think we have shared this burden quite a bit, and in addition to kind of the time of having someone just come in here and learn the program, Christy's gone around and with the different department heads and just sat down with them and their admin staff, helped them do things. So they've been great resources to get out and really let people make this a usable tool. And I'll tell you, when I got in and worked with it, I mean, it really does feel a lot like, kind of like a Word document, or like updating an easy website. It's not really that cumbersome to do. And so, you know, if I can go through and update everything for me, an hour and a half a month, it's not that much work given the benefits we get out of it.
I mean, none of us are as smart as all of us, so when we do have the help desks, it's great to hear that feedback as we can tweak and they learn what, oh, hey, I didn't know you could do that. And we do talk about how much time should we be spending, what's the right thing, so.
Yeah.
Okay, so at this point, does the board have any feedback or questions or thoughts?
This will be an annual review tool for the town manager, right?
Well, I think it should be. I mean, you know, really, I think that the town manager should be accountable to what are we doing with the strategic plan, what are we doing? I mean, that's the work of the town, so absolutely. But again, when you look through at our budget, our CIP and the TMP, I mean, all these things keep on showing up, right? So so absolutely. But I think more than that, I think it's gonna be a review tool from the community back to the board. Where you're doing, where our tax dollars going, what are the priorities? And so when we get comments or questions, I think it's gonna be great to say, hey, you should really go to the website and check out the strategic plan and see the goals and see where we are. And see how much work and progress we've made on these things.
Can you assign budgets to these?
Inside measures and KPIs, so essentially, yes, you can.
Good.
Just curious to see.
Like
Unit
budget
dollars.
numbers, yes, yes.
Budget dollars,
Yeah.
yeah. When you said CIP, I thought, oh, that's money, so I didn't see any, I didn't notice any.
We've yet.
Yeah.
We've not done that yet. I think you'll see that in January when we add the CIP.
In the limited experience that you've had so far, have you found that this really helps you all as a staff?
Yeah, I mean, compared to trying to take an Excel spreadsheet and make it happen, this
I think
is.
so.
And then, you know, you update it once and it's the same information that we can give to the board. Same, right, you know, we can just print the report, give to the board. We can put on the website, you know, live, like this is in the cloud, so as we update it updates it on the website. So it's, you know, you're just touching it once. And, you know, to me, the big sell was if we could link the CIP and, you know, the TMP and the strategic plan, if we have the same work in all those, and updating it once and connecting everything, to me, that's like worth its weight in gold. So I'm not gonna say that this is perfect, but I'll tell you that I think that this was a great purchase for us.
I think it would help communication between departments too.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Yeah, because a lot of these things do, they touch more than one person.
See, you know.
And you've got a little bit of work by Scott Ballstead, and you have a little bit going on in engineering, a little bit going on in the PD, and these things kind of, you know, mix together, and this is a way for everybody to see the same thing. Yes?
What about non-strategic plan, like if Eric has project he's working on that's kind of outside the strategic plan, could you still include that, or?
Well, so we
Would you not want to?
Oh, not in this. I
Okay.
mean, I think we could use the software. I think it's only like $1,000 to add a new plan or something. So we could have this for something internally. If we had a project that crossed a lot of things, we wanted to tie and track it. It's really a pretty inexpensive internal tracking tool for us. Even if we never put a report out or put it on the website, we could add another document or another thing to it.
It's kind of like the ballparks out there, it might be something that is not part of our strategic plan, maybe it is, I don't know. But it might be something that you guys kind of want to track between economic development, parks and rec, and.
Right, we could do that. Right.
even though
You
it's
said
outside.
to add it as a, if you were to add it here as another plan, it would cost money?
Well,
It would show up as the strategic plan.
So
No,
if we added it to the strategic plan, we could just do that, but
Sure.
if, like, yeah, it's basically, so we have the software and then we did it primarily for this, but we're gonna also do, the PD strategic plan, we're gonna do the parks plan, we're gonna do the CIP. Every time we add another document on there, I think it's $1,000 to add it.
That's right. So just, what he's referencing is up there, see the drop-down menu? So we could add, future legends, for example, project, if we wanted to. And it would cost us $1,000, and then we can do the same thing with that. Whether we publish it publicly or not, we could.
Yeah, so
internally
almost
use it.
use it as like a project management tool or something.
Yeah,
It's the same thing.
Yeah, so we've got that function, and again, for us, if, in project management software is actually probably more expensive than this in most instances. But what made this nice is I think the public facing things. really-
So it was a one-time purchase and all of these are one-time purchases
Well,
or?
so
they're
it was
ongoing?
24 for the one time, and then I think our annual cost is about $5,000 to maintain
Yeah,
it. so-
For the cloud usage and all
Yeah,
that?
so it's pretty minor investment, really. And like I said, as the board does its next strategic vision and we get everything coming out in April, we can just add this existing document. That's not a new document. I think we just go and repopulate it. So, it's going to, and then we're sitting on a county commission somewhere or up at 4 in the morning saying, I wonder what the heck the town is doing. We can go right on here and track it.
Go with the street.
Yes.
You can do it mobile too?
Yes.
Oh, yes.
So just to reiterate, I think what I heard you say was about $2,400 to buy the software.
24,000.
$24,000.
Extra zero.
Per plan.
No, 24,000 total, and that includes the 5 plans.
That's for the 5 plans. If we were to add a 6th, 7th, 8th, it's $1,000.
It'd be another 1,000.
I think that's pretty cheap overall. For project
Well,
management.
again, if we were just looking just at the town's strategic plan, I would have paused a little bit to make that kind of investment, is it really worth it? But I think when we talked about all the other needs and all the other plans we're working on, and we said, well, if it's, $4,000 for parks and $4,000 for admin, $4,000 for finance, $4,000 for PD, it just got to be a lot, it made a lot more sense, given all the other documents we have.
So did you, is this an internal fund transfer to pay for it?
Yeah, everybody's paying, like I've told everybody, Parks is all the money, you can pay for it. We'll buy them a martini at the end of the year or something. Yes, every department's gonna contribute a little bit.
Yeah.
I just want Paul to buy it. That's all.
So, any other questions? Are you guys comfortable with like what we're putting out to the public? I mean, does that seem reasonable? Okay, great.
Looking forward to seeing it.
Yeah, so again, our goal is to get this launched in January. It's not likely to be January 1st, but I would like to have this thing
Is
go
that gonna
live.
coincide with the new website? Isn't that supposed to launch in January?
In January, yes, this.
January 12th or something I read, or?
Can.
Right.
Yeah, that's a great question. We've been kind of running these things.
Because are you guys gonna do a soft launch this month internally?
What's that?
For, I believe for the, 2 vanity sites for Parks and Rec
Oh, okay.
and
Yes.
PD, not the all town ones.
Okay, and then, so when
January is.
is the date when it's supposed to go live? But probably
I'll
closer to
confirm
the end of
Yes,
January,
I'll
I think,
confirm the date for you.
from what I saw.
I think ours is December 12th or 13th.
Next week.
But that will only be visible to you
Yes.
internally. But we might wanna just take a peek, unless would be too cumbersome to. I mean, I don't expect you to give us a bunch of usernames and passwords, but.
Take a peek at this?
No,
Oh,
no, like at the parks, the new
Oh,
parks
gotcha.
section.
Because I don't know if that will be, or should we wait to see like the whole thing? Or when will we see that?
I will double check.
Okay, okay.
So for the future meetings, are we
Yep.
ready to go?
Yep.
So, right now, December 9th, it looks like we have a pretty light work session. I have, sent a note to Terry and to Dennis Markham. I think this would be a great meeting to get an update on the sewer plant, what's going on there, kind of those plans. We talked about that during the budget. And so I just haven't heard back from them yet, but, I'm hoping we can get them to give you an update that night. And then the 9th is our last regular meeting, and then on the 16th, we have the town manager, attorney, town board social. I think we're gonna try to have it this year at the Windsor Mill Tavern. Seemed like a nice place to meet up, because, we can't really book a room there, so we wanna start earlier. I'll talk about the pricing later, but we can't book a room there. So, we're thinking about maybe having a start earlier, like 4:30, 5 o'clock, maybe do like 5 to 7, and we'll just go, and Ian and I will go there a little bit early and try to, reserve a spot.
Regular spot.
Yeah, so, we'll send out.
So there'll be no meeting?
That's right,
Okay.
that's right, this is just kind of the social.
Okay.
And I'm gonna send, a pizza to Paul's house 1 hour before this starts, I'm gonna send him McDonald's and just let him kind of pre-start.
Hors d'oeuvres.
Hors d'oeuvre.
What a lot of
One bite, it's hors d'oeuvre.
Like, I do like pepperoni, it's good.
Well,
I think
if
the food's what
we
you
don't
got.
have too much, we definitely then can include Kern and get that done before our 7 o'clock meeting
We
probably.
certainly can, yes.
Because we have that as a hangover from,
And I'm out the night.
okay.
So we give you the current recipe for you, that's right.
Yeah, we did like that.
Yes, okay, well, that is a good note, and I think that'll be really
Yep.
doable.
Yeah, and so did everybody get the message? MPO does not start till 5:30. Originally, we thought we were gonna have the 34 coalition, but that got canceled. I don't think that's gonna happen till February. So it's 5:30 at Public
And I
Works.
am gonna be there, at least on the list, it didn't show me as attending, but
Okay.
now that, I'll definitely be there. Anybody cares.
So, okay. That's all I
The
have.
social's on the 16th?
Mm-hmm.
They open at 4, Paul, you wanna go down there and grab the back room?
Okay.
Stake
We'll
up,
be there.
stake up the tail.
The
Stake up the tail.
back room is, you get,
Yeah.
to reserve that, you have to guarantee a minimum of $1,000 bill.
Easy,
I'm not reserving.
easy.
No, I'm not reserving it.
Easy.
We're just gonna go in there at 4:01 and be so obnoxious, nobody else will
You'll be
sit
okay.
in.
We can do that.
Yeah, they can,
They can hardly.
Okay.
what I do.
Yeah, if you want, the mayor sent a note to, yeah, and so remember, that we do have on December 13th, we do have the holiday party at, Red Bar in Highland Meadows. And the mayor did send a note, so it's not on digitally, I think it's updated now on, so your next packet will have it on there, but it's not on this version.
Okay.
Can I ask why we didn't get notified of that any earlier? I kept looking for my email from Tara, like she sent out for like the last 3 or 4 years saying,
I would have assumed she did, I know his employees have been getting them
Yeah.
for several weeks, so if she didn't, I apologize.
I got it, I got mine.
Going for the joy.
And we have an MPO work session from 2 to 5 at,
Did you do something
Okay.
last year?
Getting nasty.
at the Public Works Building on the 13th
Oh,
as well.
Yes.
So hopefully that's on everybody's agenda, because it is on my calendar, and I know Suzette has confirmed that with somebody here. I don't know who she's been talking to. There's a special MPO work session for Friday, December 13th,
Oh, yeah.
from 2 to 5. So because the MPO, at the last meeting, we need to deliver our prioritized project list for the next 10 years of projects. And, so what we're gonna do is, every municipality is gonna be seated at their own table, because some folks wanted to have, so it's not gonna be a round table. I think we're gonna have, so like, Wellington will have whoever Wellington brings to the table, Windsor will have, because we have some, because TAC is invited, so like, we want alternates there, definitely, and I think we have some TAC representatives too, don't we have somebody on
It was
TAC?
We did.
But anyway, because we want to, then we'll have a priority list and criteria that CDOT has delivered to date of how you create your priority list, so that we once and for all get that priority list done, because it's due to the state by like January or February. So, that's what that meeting's about, is to hopefully come out of there. And so that's why, I mean, we gotta be out of there at 5, because we have another, so that will keep everybody flowing, and I mean, hopefully this will be like the 4th meeting we've had trying to get to this prioritized list, so hopefully we will get it done that day.
Yeah, we do have the Larimer County electricity out here, perfect, right?
Yeah.
And the location though is moved around, could you check?
The most recent notice was the Budweiser Event Center.
That's right, yeah, so they've been, I think they had something at the event center and then they got moved out. So they're showing on your report, right now that it's at the Human Services Building. I
Yeah,
think it is in the
Larimer County,
Budweiser
that's Budweiser,
Event Center.
it is at the Budweiser event
That
center?
was the last note I saw. So we'll confirm that and have that updated on the next meeting.
Also, since we got invited to the MPO, we can't change it. Can you guys, someone change it on the invite?
Yeah, who invited you?
It says, town clerk's office?
Okay.
Crystal?
Yeah.
Yeah. So she could just go in and change it.
That's the one at
She could.
5:30, right?
Yeah, but it still shows 4 on my calendar because it was an invite and I can't change.
You can't change
Yeah, if you're not the meeting organizer.
Yeah.
Oh, well, you can do it, you just wouldn't update everybody else.
Oh, okay.
You can update it, it'll just let you know, it's not gonna let anybody else know.
MPO on Thursday.
And we have a legislative breakfast finally, that came out
December
today.
16th.
Yep.
So we are gonna send out a note to the board, so we've asked Representative Marble and Senator Buck to give the board an update just kind of on what's going on at the Capitol. Ms. Buck has confirmed her presence, we still have not heard back, I don't think, from Ms. Marble, but the 16th seemed to work for Ms. Buck and everybody else, so we'll send out an invitation to the board, or has that gone out today?
Yeah, I sent out that calendar invite.
Oh, good.
And none of our other folks replied, because we do have a couple of other legislative folks too.
And Kristen, we said the first floor, but should we do that up in the board chambers? Wherever you guys normally done that?
Right in down
Right in
here.
here, okay.
Yeah,
And
you guys
this
bring
is
in
where we have
breakfast burritos or whatever we have, some fruit and make sure we have coffee for them and.
Okay. Well, we'll have Eric smoke a backstrap from venison and we'll.
Do I even?
She's like, okay, good. I'll eat a Pop-Tart on the way.
I can get some goose.
Oh.
So, yeah.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Great.
Last week's meeting.
It's at